Hi, everyone. This is Miss Farmer and my dog Denver. And we are hoping that you are feeling safe and healthy in your homes. And we want to bring you a lesson today that you can work on. This lesson is intended for third through fifth graders. So you can try if you want, if you're younger or older, and join us. And if not, no big deal. Denver might be running through or barking during our lesson, but we are quarantined in California, so we kind of have to stay here. And I only have a studio apartment, if you will. So if you're joining us and I don't know you, I am a literacy coach in Oakland within Oakland Unified School District. And we're just excited to help people out who are wanting to keep the learning rolling during this very unique time in our life. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to put my assistant down here. All right, so this is our goal for our lesson today. And our objective is you will be able to answer text-dependent questions using the RACE strategy and transitional words and phrases. So in order to do this lesson, you can do it if you have our packet, and if you don't, so you either need a paper and pencil. You may also use our packet. If you're a Garfield Elementary student, you could pick this up on Monday. And then also this will be posted in Google Classroom if you're in school at Garfield Elementary. So today we're working on answering text-dependent questions. If you are working on a packet, you will be looking for the part of the packet that has a race car up in the top right-hand corner. So I'll give you a few minutes to flip to the page, or you can pause. Okay, so make sure you have all your things ready, and if not, feel free to pause the video and then we can keep going. So the RACE strategy is actually an acronym that you can remember, help yourself remember how to write when you're responding to questions that require you to write a short answer. And this basically helps you remember the formula of how you can answer the question. So we start with R. As you can see, it spells race down the side. So that's why we have the race car. R stands for restate the question. This essentially means you're going to pull words from the question and just plug them in when you start writing or typing your response. The next thing you'll do is you'll answer the question. So this part you have to think of yourself, but you'll write your answer in after. The next piece is citing evidence or examples. So for this, you're going to show what exactly was in the text that helped you come to your answer. These type of questions require you to provide evidence from what you read to support your thinking. And then finally, you're going to explain your thinking. Now, this part for me, and I think for students, is the hardest because you have to come up with your own words to say exactly why your evidence supports your answer. And sometimes that can be tricky, but the more you practice this skill, the better you'll get. So we use this strategy to help your brain answer short written responses, and you can use it for fiction or nonfiction. So either type of writing or reading, you can reply using this response. And when you use this, you have all the components of a great written response for a short answer question. So today, we will read and answer questions about the story, The Market Square Dog by James Herriot. And I just want to give a shout out to Common Lit. If you want to use Common Lit is where I pulled this from. And it's a free website if you want to pull other types of articles and literature to read while you are at home. So I have my assignment pulled up on the phone here for when we get started. So you can follow along with me in your packet or digitally as you read, or you can just listen if you don't have the packet with you. Okay, just waiting for it to load. Great. So you'll see the objective is listed on the top of your assignment in case you forget. And we're going to start by reading the first chunk of text. The top says 1. Read this chunk of text, The Market Square Dog by James Herriot. On market days when the farmers around Darobi brought their goods to the little town to sell, I used to take a walk across the cobbled square to meet the farmers who gathered there to chat. One of the farmers was telling me about his sick cow when he saw the little dog among the market stalls. The thing that made us notice the dog was he was sitting up, begging, in front of the stall selling cakes and biscuits. Look at that little chap, the farmer said. I wonder where he's come from. As he spoke, the stall holder threw him a bun, which the dog devoured eagerly. But when the man came around and stretched out a hand, the little animal trotted away. He stopped, however, at another stall, which sold eggs, butter, cheese, and scones. Without hesitation, he sat up again in the begging position, rock steady, paws dangling, head pointing expectantly, like this. Can you do that at home? Great. Sometimes it helps to act out the words so you can remember what those words mean. So we've read the first chunk and we're breaking the story down step by step. The next thing we're going to do together, and I'm going to model this for you, is how to answer a question. And so our question that we're going to look at first is, what can you infer about the dog in this story? So if you're a third, fourth, or fifth grader above by now, and probably second and first too, you know that infer means to make an educated guess based on what you've read so far in the text. As we become better readers, the author is not just going to tell us everything straightforwardly. We have to make some guesses based on the words the author uses. So we're going to make an inference about the dog based on the chunk of text we read so far. So we're going to start with R, which is restate the question. Nicely done. So I'm just going to pull words from the question to start my response. So I'm going to pull infer about the dog. I'm going to get down here so I can write this a little bit better. So I might say, I can infer the dog is, and that's the first step one. So you'll see that on your packet that I also have that written out for you if you're using that to follow along. So I've done step one. I pulled these words from here to write my answer or to start my answer. The next step is to answer the question. So now I'm going to answer my question. And I'm making the inference that this dog might be lost because there's just some clues that tell me in the reading that the dog's not from there. And we'll get to that next with the evidence. So, and I had to come up with the dog being lost on my own. So I had to come up with that myself. So I'm going to write, I can infer the dog is lost. On the packet, I've rewritten the whole entire sentence step by step, but for purposes for our lesson, I'm just going to keep on rolling. So I have written restated words from the question, and I've answered the question. The next thing we need to do is to cite evidence. In our objective, I mentioned transitional phrases. So these are phrases we use in order to introduce new items that we're going to be talking about when we're writing an answer or when we're speaking. The best ones to start using and practicing with are the text states that da 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 da. So that's where you're going to put in your evidence or your example. So I'm going to use this blue one here for my citing my evidence for the C. So give me a moment to write, and you can write with me if you like. The text states that. And I'm going back to my work because I pre-did this, so I'd be ready to work with you all. It said that the farmer said, I wonder where he's come from. So for me, if someone's asking that, they don't know the dog or they don't know the person that's there. So that's going to be my evidence I'm going to use for my answer. The text says that the farmer said, and I'm making sure that I use my quotation marks since I am quoting specifically from the text. We'll do another lesson on quoting accurately, but for today, just know that I'm putting it in quotation marks. I wonder where he's come from. And it's kind of hard, tricky writing at this angle, but you can see now that I have cited my evidence that supports why I think he is lost. This dog is lost. The next thing I'm ready for is my explanation. That's right. So this is when I explain why this supports my answer. And going back to those transitional phrases, we're going to use this one in purple that says, this demonstrates that. I love using the word demonstrate instead of shows because it's just a really academic word and it's going to make you sound real fancy and smart because you are. So you want to make sure you're using that. So that's what I'm going to use for my explanation because I'm showing you why it makes sense. My answer makes sense and my evidence supports it. So follow along if you want. This demonstrates that. And like I said, I've already written out my explanation to make sure that I am ready to go through this lesson with you all. So it demonstrates that the farmer has not seen the dog in this area before. The farmer has not seen the dog in the area before. Because if someone says, I wonder where they came from, that's an unfamiliar, an unknown dog. So he doesn't know. So that's one of my reasons. And then I'm going to